If you don't feel creatively alive, it's time to restore your wildness. Society has really stripped the wild man and the wild woman from our hearts and souls. We've created sort of a homogeneous bunch of humans that are not connected to their deep wilderness, their fire, which is your creative life force. So time and time again, I see people who have that spark, who have that ability to create and give their deep creativity to the world, but they're just not connected to their fire. So in this video, I want to talk about connecting to your wilderness, making space for it, learning to embrace the muck, so that you can be more creatively expressed, confident, and in a way just sort of liberated to give your gifts to the world through your creative business. So if you're new here, my name's Kev. I'm an award-winning furniture designer, and now I help ambitious creatives design and build aligned businesses from the inside out. And a huge and often overlooked part of building a creative business is attuning to how connected you are to your inner wilderness, right? To really live a bold, beautiful life, we have to learn to venture past the sort of manicured pastures of our heart, of our soul, and of our core. But it's scary out there. Anyone who's gone deep enough into their own heart and their own inner work has found some edges that are scary to cross. And while I'm not saying to blow yourself out and just be deep in your shadow all the time, what I am saying is your creativity and wholeness is often restored by you venturing into your wilderness. Think of the physical examples, of people tend to want to go on these big trips solo so that they can, quote, do some soul searching, discover themselves. Then you have stories in religious text of, people sitting in a cave for 30 years connecting to their wilderness, Jesus going out for 40 days and 40 nights, and all of these figures that have discovered something profound for the world have often had to confront the physical reality of wilderness to discover their own. And while I don't want to say you need to go out into the woods for 3 weeks and see what you discover, what I am saying is if you do not feel creatively alive, it's a product of you not exploring your own wilderness. Much like people go out into new cities, they go to Europe, they go to Africa, they go to Australia, they see this landscape, that monument, to inspire themselves. What is really being inspired and evoked is your own curiosity, your own wilderness, your own architecture that is inside of you, right? So the more that we can create space to be curious about our own wildness, and the more that we can kind of embrace those parts of ourselves through practice, through actual adventure, through just allowing yourself to intuitively create. One of my favorite things, I do not necessarily recommend it, but sometimes, I'll have a fucking glass of wine and I'll just take some charcoal and I'll by candlelight just start drawing whatever the heck that I feel wants to come out of me. Now that's not really my medium, but it helps me connect to a deeper part of myself, and that's one small little example, right? But any way that we can begin to discover deeper parts of ourselves, oftentimes that you need the facilitation of inspiring experiences, therapy work, working with a mentor, or doing something that sort of takes you deeper than you can go yourself. That's when we feel really creatively alive and inspired. So to facilitate these types of experiences, I encourage you to set aside 30 minutes to an hour each day of what I call creative nourishment. That can be as simple as you creating a practice of going on a new walk every single afternoon. Go to a different place, walk in a different environment. Or if you're someone who likes sort of steadfast ritual, that can be you sitting on your mat, sitting at your altar, whatever it is, for 30 minutes and allowing yourself to breathe and sit with what is trying to move through you, because there's always something moving through you, whether that's an emotion, whether that's a creative nudge is what I call it, or even just some discomfort that might even be mental that is wanting to be liberated from your mind and out through your body or whatever. Creating daily space to nourish your creative self, to get out of the mind and into the body. That's how we sort of explore our inner landscapes, is through intuitive movement, is through creating space to feel, even releasing. A lot of times I find in this type of work, the more that we start to deepen our connection to our creative self, we purge up a lot of frustration, a lot of sorrow, a lot of grief, sometimes even joy we've never allowed ourselves to experience. So the more that we can get in touch with our own inner wilderness, which is oftentimes kind of scary, but the more we can find that edge of the pasture, stretch it, open the gate and explore around for a little bit, knowing that we can get back to the pasture. It's just right over there. We know how to get back. Stretching that edge daily is going to expand sort of those pastures, right? To expand those creative landscapes that are waiting to be seeded, that are waiting to be tended to. So the more space we have inside of ourselves, the more space we have to create from. The more juice we have to discover inside of ourselves, the more that we can impact the world through our raw, honest, and deep expressions, right? So I know that this is abstract, but I want to ground it with those practices that kind of make it more tangible. Any practice that you can commit to every single day, 30 minutes is sort of bare minimum, although I get it, people are fucking busy, 5 minutes is enough. But if you can give yourself 30 minutes to an hour of just pure creative nourishment, where you are with the actual sensitivity of yourself, of your body, coming out of your mind, and anything that you can do to move, surfing, hiking, walking, and not just doing those things for pleasure, but doing those things to discover what wants to move through you that day, helps you attune more to the subtle energy that is trying to move through you. That is your creative life force. That is tending to your fire. That is discovering some of your wildness and offering space to open as it, For me, sometimes it's going out and surfing and just freaking being belligerently joyful and silly and making crazy sounds out in the water because it fucking feels good. And this flavor wants to move through me. Other times, surfing is just my aspect of how I do that. Other times it's taking these really goofy stances and positions to sort of try this on. What does that feel like in my body? Why would I limit myself, And in doing this work, you might discover just how much you've narrowed and limited your creativity. Now, of course, we all have niches that we operate within. I'm not saying if your medium is portrait photography, you go out and start doing basket weaving. Maybe, sure, right? but what I am saying is to sort of loosen the grip of how you're currently perceiving how you do things, and allow space to experiment, because it's all about experimenting. That's how you discover, right? So if you want more of a facilitated breakdown and training of how to experiment in real time with uncovering these sort of blockages, creating space to deepen your creative expression and how it impacts the world and how to make a business out of it, the Embodied Creator Toolkit is a great place to start. The link is in the description below. But in the meantime, I hope to see you more, so please subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!